high school, where I went to Covenant Catholic. And we had some giant spirit days up there. I mean, our spirit days, we were so frothed up by the end, and we were cut loose. And we were all just fired up and full of passion, our hearts and fire in our eyes. And usually it was before one of the big games. I mean, we were a jock school, I admit it. We were always big in basketball and football, but our pep rallies and spirit days would be like we would all wear blue that day. And I forgot, we were wearing red today. But we would have blue hot dogs for lunch. Greg went to Covenant Catholic too. You might remember some of
I
this.
remember the blue hot dogs.
We had blue hot dogs.
We sold those at the drive-in.
Oh, drive-in blue hot dogs, and they weren't supposed to be. Those are the 3 for $1 ones in Speedway, right? I've never tried this. But on Spirit Day, we had banners all over the place. One of the committees would make banners. We would have a giant pep rally out in the gym. I mean, that whole place shook. I was surprised it didn't fall down. We had a special guest speaker, the Duck, who was our principal. He was a real short guy. He looked like a fire plug, and he walked like this. He was the Duck. But this guy was so full of energy. He would get you going and all fired up. I mean, I can remember that so well. And usually it was on the day of a big game, like the regionals or the district, or before we would go downstate. In Spirit Day, the whole purpose was to get you so fired up that we would go out and win the game. But he was sending us out on a mission. Now, Spirit Day is a lot like church. And sometimes, we need to remember that. But what did Spirit Day, and how does this all relate? Well, have you ever had that feeling before, whether it was at your school, or maybe your church, Kim, was like that, or maybe you're part of a special work group where you work, or maybe you're part of an organization, where you have a lot of spirit, or maybe it's the big hockey game, or the Reds game, or the Bengals game. Have you guys ever been in a game when it's, your side's winning and everything's going great, and you know how that feeling is. You get so fired up, no matter what it is you're doing, that it's like that spirit that you can't even put a definition on, that feeling. Now, we have had the spirit at work here in this church. I think there's no doubt about that. We have talked about this a lot. But we have had the spirit at work in so many different ways. I have never been part of a spirit-filled church as much as this church is. I mean, the Holy Spirit is working in amazing ways, in different ways that amaze me even sometimes when I hear stories from people. But we have had miracles happen. We have had healings. Not that that's the most common thing, but that has happened. We've had that happen. We have had moments where we have had a witness, we call it, where somebody in the congregation has come up and gave their testimony. And you could hear a pin drop. It's so powerful. We've had that happen 3 times where, you're like, my gosh, I didn't realize that person went through all this. Or I'm going through that too. Or some of our meetings, or prayers, or retreats, or in the hospital even as part of this church, where there have been these moments where the Holy Spirit has a hold of you. And it's almost like it gives you the chills. I mean, I have been up front here when things happen, and I'm always say I'm blessed because I can see all of you. You can't see everybody like I can. And sometimes the things that happen here are amazing. You see somebody tear up, or you just see and feel what they're feeling, because the Holy Spirit is at work. I can remember having a conversation with Billy Doyle. Billy's down helping Ann and Roy move right now, so he's not here this week. Billy and I talked about this feeling he had one time. And I said, Billy, that's the Holy Spirit. He didn't know what that was. Nobody ever told him. And he says, I get the chills when certain things were happening in his life that he told me about. I said, that's the Holy Spirit working. That's what that is. You know, have you ever had just, woo, it gets a hold of you. And, you know, you can't explain it all the time. But it's this overwhelming, overpowering feeling that you get. I get that all the time with things that happen with all of you in this church in so many different ways. That is Spirit Day. Now, in the church, Spirit Day should be every week. But you know, sometimes it just doesn't work, right? Sometimes you just have a flat week, or things aren't going right, or just something, you know, it just doesn't feel right. But most of the days are like that. And that's what I'm always saying, is that when you leave here, we don't want to be like, and forgive me for saying this, a Baptist preacher who makes you feel guilty. I want you to feel guilty when you leave here. I want you to feel happy and joyful when you leave here. I want you to feel like you're going out to tell someone else about what you had so that they can get it too. You know, just like the bands we have on our heads, just for fun. You know, it's like one of these is on you all the time. You have that tongue of fire that you're willing to tell someone, you know, they might ask you, why are you always, they know there's something different about you. What is this? And you can explain to them. Come on down with us and see and feel what this is like and be part of this church. You know, that's what Spirit Day is. To be all fired up, just like your Spirit Day at school that I described. When you're sent out, that you want to tell other people about what you're having and what they need. Now we know that there's so many people out there hurting. There's drugs, there's depression, there is things in people's lives that is overwhelming. And I know a lot of us here are dealing with things too. And sometimes you just can't sometimes you don't even want to get up in the morning. You know, you're so depressed or so down. And sometimes the Holy Spirit might even have a hard time getting you moving. But when we have this basis and this community of faith that's excited for Team Jesus and things that we do, then that's when we're doing the right thing. That's when we know that the Spirit of Jesus, His Holy Spirit, is working here. Now today, I'm talking a lot about the book of Acts, the reading that Tina did, and I almost always preach the lectionary gospel. But today, this lesson that we're hearing is from Acts. You know, the book of Acts is the template for the church. The book of Acts, if you had to go, if somebody told you go set up a church, you would read the book of Acts, see how to do it. I mean, it's literally an instruction book on how to do that. But all through the book of Acts, the Holy Spirit is the one that's at work. They're excited, they're fired up, they're passionate. And you know, if your best friend that you hung around with for 3 years was murdered and then came back to life, would you be excited? I mean, that would be like, my goodness. I mean, they finally got it. They finally believed that Jesus really was the Son of God because nobody else could come back to life. Well, if this person was in my life and I saw that firsthand, I'd be pretty fired up too. Now, we're 2,000 years later. And sometimes it is hard to get fired up. I know that. When there's something happening in your life, you know, that we always say, like in mission work, if you're hungry, they're not going to listen to the gospel. They got to get the belly filled, and then we'll talk to them about that, you know? And it's kind of like that. If we are hurting so bad, you know, we need to take care of ourselves and each other pastorally. Once you're feeling better, or get through that with others, that is where we get fired up. And that's where the Holy Spirit takes us through. So I'm going to invite all of us today to really think about how Spirit Day relates to our church. You know, it's almost like Immanuel and Spirit should be right up there together. You know, this is a church, remember this now, that was going to close 5 years ago. The council had decided that, you know, I don't know what's going to happen here, but we've got this money in the bank and we're going to divide it up and run out this many years and close. Now look at us. Is this a church that's going to close? No. This church is full of spirit, it's full of tenacity, it's full of passion. Now I'm not saying that we've tripped along the way, because we have made mistakes, we've had our downtimes, and we have apathy here and there. But overall, we have to remember that we are led by the Holy Spirit, and I hope that you all feel that fire that I feel, that we're passionate and that we're going places. Today, we have 2 people that are coming forward to join this church. We have had people coming to join. We have a baptism next week, and another person that wants to join. We've got 5 other people that will join just a little bit down the road. Yes, we've had people move. Lewis has moved. The Sandusky's has moved. And sometimes people fall away to go off to the side. But overall, we have been growing little by little by little, and we continue to do that. So we're doing something right, and I think it's the Holy Spirit at work here. So I would like you to think about this. Our 2 people that are going to come forward today, but if you feel the Holy Spirit moving inside of you, come up and just be part of this to show your faith. Or maybe if you don't have a church home, or maybe you're not technically a member and you want to join this place, you come forward now. Think about how the Holy Spirit is working in your life. So John, we're going to fire up this next song and ask them to come forward. So let's do that now. Harry and Patty.